So Liberation Day is here. I figured we could grab some whiskey, tell some lies, make some guesses about where the price of gold is going, or we could just take a look at what's actually happened. So we've seen and heard a lot of news the past few weeks revolving around gold price and the effect tariff threats are having on it. Now, we've seen more and more news leading up to what's being called Liberation Day, which is today. This is the day that we're going to see a wider rollout of international tariffs and a little bit more chaos. So it's safe to say we're going to be hearing and seeing more news on both topics, tariffs and gold. And I think we're going to be seeing some more news on silver coming too, but that's another topic. Now, I don't think we're going to see any kind of simple impact from the rollout today, so I figured it was a good time to look at how far we've come just to get to where the prices are today. So, not gold price over the past 2 weeks, gold price over the past 2 years, because gold was already making a run before any of us knew tariffs were coming. This is the kind of thing we can see pretty clearly on charts, but I can think of a better way to show it. I have a short video floating around showing what $100,000 looks like in gold. Now, it was a video meant to demonstrate the value of gold, not just for those of us already familiar with coins, but for the wider population. So no real analysis, nothing too deep. It's just interesting. I'm trying to demystify gold ownership a little bit, and the idea, well, it just seemed like a fun way to do it. Now, in a long form video, the context is a little bit different. So let me just say that this is not meant to be some kind of thoughtless flex made anonymously over the internet. Hopefully by now, I've shown that I'm not out for that kind of self-gratification. There's a point to be made here. It's not that after 17 years of stacking, I have enough to be able to make this kind of video. It's that the increase in gold's value over the past 2 years is pretty wild, and it might be best shown outside of a chart. Now, before we get into that, quick shout out to channel sponsor Summit Metals. If you're looking for gold and silver, they have you covered. Be sure to check them out at summitmetals.com. And back to it. In March of 2023, it took 55 ounces of gold to equal $100,000. And that's what we're looking at here, 55 ounces of gold. And let's just get a quick rundown of what this is. This is 12 1-ounce Perth Mint coins from the Lunar Series 3 and the Chinese Myths and Legends series. It's 20 buffaloes, it's 19 eagles, 3 high relief liberties, and the 2009 ultra high relief double eagle. Again, 55 ounces of gold. That's similar to what I showed in that short video. Since March of 2023, the price of gold has increased 72% to $3,120. 72%. There's no real significance to March of 2023. That just happens to be when I made that video. Now, I usually talk about annual gains, but this is 24 months. Actually, 24 months and 3 weeks. So if we were going to strip this down, we would have to take it all the way down to 32 ounces. 32 ounces of gold is worth $100,000 at the time of recording. 23 ounces less than it took 2 years and 3 weeks ago today. Now, I'm going to show that on the tray here. So I've already taken away the Perth Mint Lunars, the Myths and Dragons, the American Gold Liberties, and I'm going to get rid of 7 of these eagles. Actually, okay, let's get rid of 8. We can keep the 2009 ultra high relief double eagle for glamour. So this is what 32 ounces of gold looks like. And if you're wondering, the 23 ounces we no longer need to hit the $100,000 benchmark, well, that's worth $71,760 today. That's what we have pushed off to the side. If we wanted to bring this back into annual gains, well, we saw gold hit $3,128 earlier this week, and it's rattling around in that space again today. So if we just grabbed that price point, we're looking at a 19% gain for the year 2025, and it looks like it's really just getting started. Now, that's not to say that we're not going to see price retrace with all this volatility that tariffs are creating, but it's worth mentioning how wild of a gain that is. I've mentioned before that last year's gains of 28% were the biggest gain in 14 years, and it looks like we could see a repeat. A quick comment on the dollar. Now, every time I put out a video, somebody will comment, the price of gold isn't going up, the value of the dollar is going down. Now, look, we all understand what this says about the dollar with inflation and buying power, and directionally, that comment is accurate. It's the big reason that people hold gold in the first place, but what we're seeing with gold price is not tracking along some kind of imaginary line that shows the US dollar's buying power. There's just not a direct correlation between gold and the value of the US dollar. If there was, this 23 ounces of gold sitting here, the gold we no longer need to get to $100,000, would also represent your loss of buying power. So in other words, $100,000 from March of 2023, if you just put that in a safe for your mattress, would only buy you $58,180 worth of whatever today. Again, that's if it tracked directly. It doesn't. Now, if it did, honestly, gold's run would be a lot less impressive because you'd have to consider things like premiums and storage costs and just a general effort to go buy and sell gold in the first place. The reason that I point that out is that gold is also outperforming other assets that are also denominated in US dollars. You can't ignore that fact. So waving off gold's run as some kind of net zero effect is missing the really important part here, that gold is doing something far more impressive over the past 2 years. It's actually breaking out, and that breakout is drawing more and more attention to it, which is causing it to break out more. So back to Liberation Day quickly. One of the things that we've seen a lot of in the past few weeks is uncertainty. And if you were to look at gold's performance in 2024 and so far in 2025, well, it's one of the few assets growing reliably, and that makes it a really good place to park some capital. So if we get some answers that lead to certainty, we could also see a quick drop in price. Now, that's just an offhand speculation, but it's one that I think we need to make because I've only been talking about growth here. Now, if that seems like a downer, well, that observation is one that analysts from the big banks will have been making as well, and we've seen a string of those big banks upgrading their price forecast for 2025. So Liberation Day might end up adding volatility, but the gold rally still has a long way to go. And that also means the stack here of 32 ounces of gold will probably just keep getting smaller. Let's call it good there. Plenty to pay attention to in the coming days with new tariffs rolling out, probably a few of them rolling back as well. We can keep an eye on it and still pay attention to just how far we've come. So I kind of flipped the visual here to make it work a little bit more like Benjamin Button. So let us know in the comments how many ounces you think it'll take by the end of the year to get to that 100,000. Will it be 30? Maybe less? Let us know what you think. And then while you're there, be sure to hit that like button if you found any of this interesting. Be sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on if you want to hear more on the topic. And if you're still here, thanks again for watching. I always appreciate your time. Take care.